The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. It's time to talk some Utah sports with the man himself. Hit it.
Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Steve, what's going on, buddy? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, fellas. How we doing?
Well, I'm looking at photos of Sherrone Moore right now in his courtroom appearance, and he's in a padded room with cinder blocks, and he's locked up. And I truly can't fathom what has happened over the last 72 hours in that man's life. It's insane what a fall from grace this has been. But you know what? To shift totally away from that, it's been kind of a crazy 72 hours up at the University of Utah. It feels like winds are blowing all different directions when it comes to Kyle Whittingham, even amid good news that Bird Ficklen's coming back.
Yeah, it's definitely been a whirlwind, and certainly not anywhere near the sort of whirlwind that Sherrone Moore has been experiencing the last little bit. But yeah, things are a lot of talk, a lot of different topics and all that sort of stuff. Just a lot of conversation, a lot of digging and trying to verify certain stuff. And as of right now, things are pretty calm, but we'll see. It's certainly Friday, and that's certainly an opportunity to provide, a news dump if that's what ends up happening. I think there's certainly potential for that today, but yeah, it's interesting. And, obviously a lot of this centers around Kyle Whittingham and what he's going to do. And, as of right now, I think you can toss a coin and have, a pretty good chance of guessing what Kyle is going to end up doing. I entered the off season, coming away from that Kansas game, feeling pretty confident that this was it for Kyle, that 2025 was it. But over the last week, things have shifted where the conversation was more about him coming back and, this entire group running it back. But now as this week has progressed, it's gone back and forth both ways. And so there's been a lot going on and all of that. And I think there's certainly potential, like I said, for news to break today. And it would not surprise me if it's one or the other, right? If Kyle comes back or if he retires, it would not surprise me either way at this point.
All right, Steve, I'm going to, leave this vague, take it where you want to go. But what do you think about the Utah selling a stake in its athletic department to private equity and creating a for-profit LLC?
Big picture is that I feel like this is another step towards where college athletics is eventually going to end up, and a pretty big step at that. I've been of the opinion that since NIL became a thing and the transfer portal became what it's been, where you're essentially, dealing with year in, year out free agency, that eventually this was going to become, a professional sport of sorts, where you're going to have to collective bargain and go to the table with a players union and come to an agreement on various things to be able to enforce contracts and all of this sort of stuff. And I know that there's a belief up on Utah that eventually, football and men's basketball are going to become professional sports of sorts, where they're an extension of the university itself. And when you go back and you dive into the history of college athletics, that's exactly what sports, were brought to these schools to do. They were used as advertising to get people interested in attending these universities. And so, ultimately, I think this is just another step in where college athletics is going. with that in mind, pretty surprised that Utah was the first university to embrace private equity, but at the same time, understanding who President Taylor Randall is and his vision for the university itself, this aligns, with what they're trying to do up at the U as well. So beyond those things, I don't know a whole lot about private equity. I'm not going to try to pretend like, me reading a couple articles in the last couple of days to try and get a better feel for, what it's all about and what it's going to mean. I'm not going to pretend to act like I know what I'm talking about, when it comes to the money and all of that. But I think when you dive into, the actual details, right, with Utah creating an LLC and Otro Capital investing into that LLC specifically, understanding that, important decision-making processes and all that is when it comes to the actual people and product with the athletic programs, all of that is still going to remain in Utah's control. You start to understand kind of the vision here with it all. And I think for President Randall to find, a partner in Otro Capital with extensive background in sports, understanding the financial dynamics of sporting events and those types of things and the partnerships that they'll have available and will bring to Utah, it's certainly an interesting element to add to the conversation around college athletics. And I think the people that are, talking about the death of college athletics and this being, all of that, I think people are still trying to hold on to what college athletics was when they say those types of things. And like I said at the beginning, with NIL and the transfer portal, I've always felt like this was going to end up becoming more of a professional type of market, and I think this is just another step towards that process of college athletics becoming a minor league of sorts.
Steve, you brought up Taylor Randall. Two things are around that. One, Taylor Randall said in an ESPN article or on the meetings on Tuesday, there's equal risk of actually not doing anything to taking this in the LLC direction with this private equity. What do you think President Randall meant by that? And then second, you said if you understand his vision for the program or for the university, what is that vision?
So to address that first part, the risk in not doing anything is that you eventually you die a slow death, right? We know that college programs, athletic programs across the country are struggling financially with this new rev share being what it is, with also needing to compensate athletes of the past. There's a lot of money that is suddenly not available to these athletic departments because you have, over 20 million allocated now to paying players present and past. And so that is something that a lot of universities across the country are figuring out ways how to navigate that. Some are in better situations than others. And for President Randall and Mark Harlan, they felt like this was the best way to not only, protect the athletic department and ensure it, that it's going to be able to sustain itself, for the foreseeable future, but also position itself to potentially become much more competitive and to provide a more entertaining product, at these events. So I think all of it really it is going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. But President Randall is absolutely right that there's equal risk if they hadn't done anything and just stayed with the status quo. In terms of his bigger vision, if you've been up to the University of Utah anytime recently, you're seeing a lot of apartment complexes being built, a lot of housing units being built. It is turning into an on-campus university. This is part of a big vision for President Randall, and it's an important element when you start talking about the future of college athletics and having a stronger on-campus dynamic and being able to become one of the top universities in the country academically is a big part in that. And President Randall understands the importance of athletics and the value it provides the academic side of the university. You hear it all the time from individuals, whether they be university presidents, athletic directors, or coaches. When you have a team that gets to play in these New Year's Six bowls, when you have a team that's in the playoff conversation, all season long, that has a direct correlation to student applications and the ability to bring in more students, better faculty. So it all plays together when you're talking about President Taylor Randall's vision for the university. Is he wants the University of Utah to become a top 10 institution in the country, and all of this allows them to put it all together potentially and make those strides towards those goals.
What sports are included in the LLC?
I don't know. I assume all of them, right? But I don't know all the details, and I'm not sure that was addressed. But certainly you understand that, the big revenue-generating sports, football, men's basketball, are going to be the top two universities. Beyond that, I would assume that all other ticketing and other dynamics of Utah athletics will be included in the LLC. But, we'll have to wait till, once they hammer out all the fine details and get a better grasp of what this is going to be. There's still a lot that we have to learn about all this. It was reported that, the $500 million in capital, that's not even finalized, right? There's a lot still to be done. They're at a point where they obviously felt good about it, where they've come to an agreement on doing the deal, and there's a lot of pieces in place, but still they've got to get this to the finish line before we learn about a lot of the finer details of it all.
So, Steve, is the expectation that this is going to change positively the results on the field or the hardwood? I mean, is that the goal of all of this, or is this just to keep the lights on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, probably a bit of both, right? Because, I think it's important to understand that, that 20, going back to the 20 million in rev share, right? That's money that used to be able to be funded towards, just sort of your bills, for lack of a better term, right? You now have to come up with ways, whether you're cutting costs or shrinking, budgets. You've got to find ways to navigate that with a $20 million payroll now. And so part of this is to sort of, fill the holes and secure the floor. And that potentially allows where, you're utilizing a lot of donor money to pay the bills right now, where you have this infusion of capital where now it fills those gaps. A lot of that donor money is now freed up to potentially do more of the fun stuff, to utilize, create ways of third-party NIL deals and opportunities, where instead that money is currently being used to keep the lights on. That now becomes, for lack of a better term, fun money to utilize, right? So there's certainly a lot of potential for this to impact Utah's ability to generate NIL opportunities, which obviously plays a big role in roster construction. As we've seen with Texas Tech and with BYU, when you have NIL funds available, you can quickly change your roster and become a really competitive program. And I do think where the capital may not be used directly to NIL, to fund NIL, I assume that's the case. It frees up others and creates other opportunities to generate more of those third-party NIL offerings to utilize, in recruiting better players, which again gets back to improving the product on the field of play.
Switching to basketball real quick, the Utes have 3 games left before conference play. Mississippi State, Eastern Washington, and then at Washington. Oh, one more against Arizona at home, and then they start conference play. I'm curious to your expectations going into conference. What do you think is best case scenario for this basketball team?
Man, just continued progress, right? I think best case, like we've talked about, is getting to that 13th spot, 12th spot in the conference. The Big 12 has proven to be a much better conference this year than it was last year, right? Kansas looks better. Colorado, Arizona State look much improved from what they were last year. So this is going to be a tough year. And I think for Utah, I think what I've realized is, they lost Babacar Faye, who was a big guy at 6'9", 230 pounds. Seeing him around the other players, he's a much bigger presence than his 6'9", 230 frame would. Like, he's got long arms, and why I bring him up is his injury that he suffered, which happened just before the season tipped off, was he would have played a big role, where Utah currently is just struggling a lot on the inside, both offensively, on the defensive end. And so, his absence has certainly had an impact on this team's performance to this point of the season. But I think for Utah, they're starting to figure out how to play better defense. They're starting to figure out a lot of things offensively. But there is certainly a big gap between where they're at and where the rest of the Big 12 is at. They're on an upward trajectory in terms of their development and how they're performing over the last couple of games. It certainly seems like progress is being made, but they've got a lot of work to do to be competitive in the Big 12. They've got a tough conference slate. They've got some tough home games. They've got some really tough road games. And this conference, like I said, is much better than it was last season. You can't necessarily look at a Kansas or a Kansas State as potential upsets like you could last year with the way that those two programs were playing last year. I think across the board, the Big 12 is playing better basketball. And for Utah, it's going to be difficult, but as long as there's progress being made, I think that's the big key for Alex Jensen in year one, is establishing his brand, his culture, and showcasing progress. He's going to need to get a couple signature wins in conference play, in my opinion. He's going to have to have those on the resume in year one to kind of build on things going into year two. But this is going to be a tough season as this team is currently playing. But they're certainly, like I said, on a positive trajectory with the way that they're playing and the level of play that they're at.
How does Utah feel about their bowl draw?
I think they're excited to be playing in Las Vegas. The people that I've talked to, and unfortunately we haven't been able to talk to anybody officially, up with the program. We haven't had any sort of media availability, so we don't know officially how they feel. But in talking to the people that I've talked to, there is excitement about playing in Vegas. Obviously, given the location for Utah fans, that's an easy trip to make. New Year's Eve in Las Vegas will certainly be an experience for players, coaches, and fans. So there's excitement from that. I don't know too much about how they feel about Nebraska, but at least for us here locally, the fan base, and that, I think there was a lot of hope that it would be a more competitive matchup against an Iowa type of program, right? A 7-5 record is, it just doesn't draw a lot of excitement. But again, I think the bigger point here is that it is Las Vegas. It's a 4 or 5 hour trip, and a lot of Utah fans, a lot of players are excited about that. So it's kind of unique where there's excitement for the bowl itself, but maybe the opponent, not having a great year and then kind of dealing with some things, and this as we've gotten into the off season, I think is certainly an interesting dynamic in all of it.
Steve Bartle, Las Vegas, New Year's. I mean, that sounds like a recipe for a good story.
Look out, Sherrone Moore. We got a new cellmate for you.
Whoa.
Easy.
Whoa.
Easy there,
I am going to
Benjamin.
be down there with my wife there, Ben.
Yeah, I was.
Hope you got room for two. Sherrone.
I was thinking like Countdown on Fremont Street. Ben's going a totally different direction. Steve, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it.
Oh, man. Yeah, no problem, guys.
See you, buddy. That's Steve Bartle, our friend, covers the Utes for KSLSports.com.
Why does every Utah lie about how long it takes to get to Las Vegas? Why does everyone say it's 4 hours? It's not. It's like 6 hours. To drive it, it's like 6 hours.
Who
Maybe
says
if you
4?
live, Steve literally just said it. But if it's like, I guess if you live further south, it's possible. But it's never been 4 hours. It's not 5 hours, really. It's a very solid 6 hours. And if you stop it all, it's easily 6 hours.
I would say if it's taking you 6, you're doing it wrong. 4, not a chance. If you're in like the 5:15, 5:30, you're probably at about the sweet spot.
It's never 4. And I hear that a lot. It's a 4-hour drive. It's like 4 hours to get down there.
But
No, it's not.
you hit 6, that's because you hit the outlet malls in St. George or you had traffic in the gorge or something like that.
I can stop and get gas and have lunch. Yeah. But it's not, Moab is 4. Easy 4. Getting up to Island Park, right around there, 4. You're talking Vegas is never 4. You're a Vegas. You drive to Vegas a lot.
Driving to Vegas for Christmas.
Yeah. You gotta carve out 6 hours.
Yeah.
You can't leave at noon and expect to get there by dinner at 5.
6. If you hit 6, you're doing it wrong. If you're driving down there
Christian
right
lives
around
up north,
5,
he's
5 and a
tack
half.
on an extra 30.
I live a little more north than you guys, yeah. I could get there in less than 6, given
Right.
there's no traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, if you live in Beaver, maybe it's taking you 4.
Yeah, right. Maybe some Provo people can get there pretty quickly.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're getting some more detail on the Sherrone Moore situation. He had his first court appearance today. Ben, you said the pictures are jarring. He's just in a padded room. Ugh.
Again, it's just crazy that, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
He was on the sidelines coaching against Ohio State in a game everybody was watching. And now he's in a jail cell.
Nicole Auerbach, who works, I think she's with The Athletic. I could click through and find out, but whatever. She says the prosecutor, NBC Sports, thank you, Christian. She was saying the prosecutor says that Sherrone Moore and the woman had an intimate relationship for a number of years. Quote, our victim broke up with the defendant on Monday morning. She presented herself to the school and corroborated the fact they had a relationship, unquote. She says that Sherrone Moore went to the woman's house, grabbed butter knives and kitchen scissors, and threatened to kill himself, threatened her that, quote, my blood is on your hands, unquote.
My brother once ate a gummy worm that he said he had taped back together, and I was so worried about it when he grabbed the butter knife and said he was going to cut his stomach open to get it out because I thought he was dying. I was 4 or 5 years old, so I recognized that butter knives at that point felt dangerous, less so now. But this is unhinged. This is truly insane that we are at this point where, A, he is actually in jail. Now he's being released on $25,000 bond, which is relatively low.
Well, it's a third-degree felony, right, is what he's being charged with.
He does have
2 misdemeanors.
An ankle bracelet. And, obviously he's got to do all the normal things. No drinking, no drugs. Got to stay in the state. Can't have contact with this woman. But, that's a real insane fall from grace. I do think a lot of times we view these, affairs with this type of power dynamic as maybe not emotional for him to say that she's ruining his life, which maybe doesn't have anything to do with the emotion, but the fact that she did come forward to the school and it ultimately led to him being dismissed from his job. It's wild. It's
what it did was force the school's hand.
It did. And clearly they had investigated, and they probably talked to her and said, hey, did this happen? And she said no.
Yeah, they both denied it. And
then she comes forward and says, actually, yes, it did happen.
So then they have to do something about it. But Michigan is saying they could not have known. And I still don't believe that.
Agreed.
I don't believe that for a dang second. But that's what's being said. She came in and confirmed it. Then they canned him, and then he crashed out, as they say, and is in he's in big trouble. He's facing a felony and 2 misdemeanors. But honestly, financially, he probably ruined himself. I'm guessing a divorce is coming.
You would imagine?
I'm guessing civil lawsuits are coming.
You would imagine?
Specifically, this gal is going to sue him.
And he's not using a state-appointed attorney, so he's going to have to pay for his own defense in all of this.
Well, defense and a divorce attorney.
Yeah.
Which will be more expensive than the defense attorney, I would guess.
And, 3 kids involved. It stinks. This is a man who has made his bed. No one should have sympathy for Sherrone Moore. This is absolutely pathetic behavior. And my question in this always, and this just goes back to human nature, like, we're seeing this guy in jail now.
Uh-huh.
Is this a criminal who was masquerading as the head coach of Michigan? Or is this the head coach of Michigan whose life has fallen apart and now he's a criminal? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, is this always who this guy was, just below the sea, or, just below the crust? What's the term? Just below the surface? And he'd just been put in enough good situations to not quite go completely off the hinges, or is this an actual just lunatic person?
No, I think this is definitely somebody dealing with mental illness. I think that is obvious. Threatening to kill yourself is
Absolutely.
Probably a sign that things aren't going well mentally.
Clearly.
There are other reports out there that he had been struggling mentally before this. So,
and I'm not trying to make light of that.
No. I'm just treading lightly. And by the way, this is why people like Ben Simmons playing the mental health card when it's completely inappropriate. Really,
it's offensive.
It is super offensive because it's a lot of people deal with this stuff. But the reason I don't feel bad for Sherrone Moore is because he made a bunch of bad decisions that had nothing to do with his mental illness. Now, him going to be charged with a felony and him still being in jail, there's probably some mental stuff that have really cost him in this circumstance. But the reason he's not Michigan's coach anymore and his family life is probably ruined is all him making bad decisions. And whether or not was he a criminal, making bad decisions doesn't make you a criminal. So the criminal aspect of this, I do think that there's probably some mental. I mean, you don't crash out like that.
His ability to spiral.
If you're perfectly sane. But him not having a job today or him having family issues today, that has nothing to do with mental illness. That was all bad decision making on his part.
I certainly don't think we're looking at somebody who doesn't know the difference between right from wrong. Right? This is a guy who is covering up his affair by giving this woman a raise. Boosting her salary by $40,000. He understood what he was doing, how to try and cover it up, etc. Apparently, he just didn't realize how much was on the line, or he didn't care how much was on the line. And then when it backfired, he said, well, whatever.
Oh, it all caught up to him.
Yeah, caught up to him.
It all caught,
He said, what else do I have to lose?
If you're living a lie and playing the shell game and all that stuff, it all caught up to him. But this strikes me as a little bit of a mental break. Again, I don't want to give this guy a pass, but crashing out like that. I'm not saying he's Michael Douglas from Falling Down, but it is the shell game caught up to him and he lost it, obviously.
I think that's probably a better way to say it than what I had said. Is this a crazy person? And again, I hate to say the word crazy person when we're talking about mental illness. I'm not trying to conflate those two things.
There is some crazy here, but I think it was...
Is this a person who was playing a shell game? And his entire life was a shell game, and now finally they lifted up the shells and there was no ball there. That's what's actually happened? Or is this actually a person who had his life together and it spiraled that far away from him in just a week? It's probably the shell game.
I would argue that anybody carrying on an extramarital torrid love affair for multiple years is playing a shell game. I don't know about his coaching acumen. I don't know. I don't know if he's just been a buffoon posing as a good coach for his entire life. Yeah. I have no clue. But I know, like, his personal life screams of
a show.
A shell game in a sense that he's carrying on these relationships and not telling other people about it because obviously he's not. And doing it for an extended period of time. I mean, that's not somebody who's got it together. I would argue, I don't know, maybe there's some polyandrous people out there that are making it work, but I don't think that's what this was all about.
He's not the first coach to be arrested. Coaches get arrested every year. DUIs every year,
Chauncey
all kinds
Billups.
of stuff. Chauncey Billups, again, truly spiraling. And in all honesty, today, would you rather be Sherrone Moore or Chauncey Billups? Probably Sherrone Moore.
He's facing less jail time.
Less jail time. Yeah, it seems less organized, at least, is the term I will use with what he has done. So, yeah, he's not the only person we've seen fall apart, but with this speed and the violence, no pun intended, of breaking and entering into somebody's house. And I'm glad he didn't beat her up or anything like that. But the speed with which this happened is seemingly unique. Chauncey I always thought was an idiot. I was very surprised he had the respect he did around the league, and I never thought he was all that impressive of a coach. So I wasn't maybe entirely surprised when the world around him crashed. I don't know what I thought of Sherrone Moore. He hadn't been around long enough for me to really develop a major opinion on him. But to go from, 2 weeks ago coaching against Ohio State in the biggest rivalry game in college football to being behind bars because his shell game of a life fell apart is wild to watch. It comes for everybody. Not everybody, but I guess if you're running life that way, it'll come for you.
But here's the thing. When it comes unraveled, you can't go over and kick in the door and threaten yourself and others.
Our friend Daniel Tiger.
Yeah, right.
When you want to roar, sit down, count to four.
Yeah. Just take a beat, count to 4, and figure out what you're going to do. But
not that. That can't be the answer.
No. So, yeah, it's a wild story. I can't stop reading about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the epic crash outs in sports history. But I don't know. The mental illness part of it or that part of it makes it a little bit delicate.
Sure, absolutely.
This is
no
not
question about it.
a behavior of somebody that's really got it together mentally. But his bad decisions to carry on an extramarital affair at work with his executive assistant is kind of get what you got coming.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the weird part of this story.
And maybe he was right. Maybe, Adam Schefter reporting yesterday that he thought people were coming for him. Maybe that's true, but did he burn a bunch of bridges so people were coming for him?
But
is that his fault?
Is that always true at every program in the country?
No, certainly not.
Oh, that people are
people are gunning for your job.
For
yeah,
you?
Ben,
Yeah.
people are going to disagree with what you're doing. Absolutely, yes, that's the case. But there are not necessarily everywhere someone's trying to plant stories about you.
No, but there's always some administrator or assistant coach
a
or
donor,
somebody
whatever.
that does not. Yeah, right.
That certainly exists.
I don't know if that's any special circumstance to this guy, and especially what Viper Pit, Michigan is looking like. Not surprised that he thought someone was out
gunning
for him.
Yeah,
because it was probably true.
His next court appearance is in mid-January, so he's got to sit with this for a month.
But he's getting out.
He's getting out. He will be a free man.
Well, I hope he takes better care of himself.
I hope he takes it seriously.
And makes better decisions.
No question about it.
All right, stay tuned. We wrap up the Jake and Ben Show next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's that?
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him made Jake's and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Hey, Jake and Ben. Just was wondering about the story of why you two have your own theme music, but no one else does. Would love to hear that story sometime if I missed it.
Because I wrote and recorded one. That's why.
Yeah, because Scott, thanks for using the call-in feature, as always, on KSL, the KSL Sports app. Jake moonlights as two things: the pre-half and post-game host for the Utah Jazz, and a super successful singer-songwriter and the lead singer. I can't remember what our band, what your band name was.
I don't even
since
remember
forgotten.
either.
Yeah.
I think it was No Limits.
No Limits.
or
Yeah,
something
I
like
think
that.
it was something along those lines.
So I created a reggae jam for our show.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and a whole slew of great songs. Maybe we should play some of them.
We could relive some. I don't know. I've written a lot of them. I wrote one about Rock Olson.
That's up there with my favorites. And then the Dreamcoats, of course,
The Dreamcoats,
which is a dream forgotten now, unfortunately.
right. I wrote some promo songs for our show. Sponsored the show. You remember that one?
I
That
do.
one might have been my favorite.
Yeah.
Ben Anderson walks in the summer sun.
Oh yeah, this is Ben being ashamed of his legs.
I wear pants almost exclusively.
Keeps them hidden tight. Long pants in the heat, morning till night. Mirror whispers cool, it cuts in deep.
Hands is out of town. We don't have the rock one.
No short
I could probably find it.
Shorts for Ben. No breeze on his
No
knees.
breeze on his knees. He's ashamed of his legs.
Well, you're a good writer. That's why our top 3 stories at KSLSports.com, the headlines are always so good when Christian's reading them, because you're also the main writer there.
I want to hear the sponsor of the show one again. That one might be my favorite. Making it happen. Good guitar lick coming in. Intro was a little long.
Every once in a while you get showy with the guitar
I
work.
do.
Yeah. This is Dreamcoats,
Oh, this is Dreamcoats.
right?
No.
Oh, this is sponsor of the show?
Yeah, this is sponsor of the
Okay. Some of your stuff in the last year started to sound like it to me, which is why I like you took a reggae approach with us.
We need you.
It's a real ballad.
Let the love flow.
Okay, you did find the rock one. Well, the rock one, in my opinion, is your hit. Maybe not what you're most famous for, but it's my favorite work you've done.
Got a story about a man named Hans. Used to play ball, had big dreams and plans. But he wasn't as good as his uncle Merlin. Always felt like he was just to throw it in. Now his son Rock, he was just to throw it in.
How did this not get me beat up?
He's the real deal. Gonna take the field, show him how it feels. Hans had his time, but now it's Rock's turn. He's gonna make his mark. Let the world learn. Let the world learn. Set to make his mark. The Rock's gonna take it to the highest.
It's really good. What I don't understand when you were recording this, when you were laying down the track, and we may have to cue up the beginning of it again, is you call Hans Hans.
I did.
But it rhymes with the word plans. Hans. But then he goes right into, he says he had big plans, which rhymes perfectly with hands, which is how you say his name.
It is.
Now, everybody who doesn't work with him calls him Hans. And you called him that in the song. And he hates it. And the word plans rhymes perfectly with how you're supposed to say his name, yeah?
It was a dig, yeah.
Can you hear it one more time? Just the first 2 lines there.
Story about a man named Hans. Used to play ball, had big dreams and plans.
Yeah, so I like it.
It was it was a dig. If you didn't notice, a lot of the song is a dig. Yeah. Oh, the dog about the one I wrote about Hans and Gus.
Oh, and Gus dying in his arms.
Sunrise hits Hans's face. Morning grace for disaster. Broke dawn with heartache. Gus gone. Couldn't say my K9 master. Grief stricken, breath quicken. Held my best friend in my arms. Eyes heavy, mind spinning. Trying to stay calm through the qualms.
Real Imagine Dragons vibe.
Wheels crawling, teammates brawling, paths clashing like storms collide. Hands got heart full of sorrow, sweat veins, head held high. Footballs, my solace, grit, on blind through the pain.
I like this one. I forgot about this one.
Spirit, giving strength, pushing through the rain. Oh man, I've had a rough morning. Tears mixed with the sweat. Gus's memory keeps soaring through every scrimmage and set.
Oh, I'm so glad he's in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I liked.
Do people know? Do people have the original "Gus died in my arms" today? Do people know that?
People know that clip. It's been around for a while. I like the. I wrote one about Lloyd being a cat smuggler.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys just have a lot of range.
A lot of range.
But you write about what you know, and you know the people you work with.
I do, and I know what they like and what they don't.
Anyway, Scott, to your question, Jake's got a whole album, but the intro of our show, Two Amigos on the Airwaves. What is it? Island Living?
Uh-huh.
Island Living.
Island Living.
From No Limits, Jake's band. That's why we have our own theme.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we made it happen.
We being you.
I made
you
it
and the
happen.
band.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. All right, we want to remind you about our friends at Miki Couture. Get the best blankets and gifts ever. Save 50% this season with promo code ZONE50. Shop online at mikicouture.com or visit any of their 6 locations. All right, speaking of Hans and Scotty are coming up next. We will talk to you on Monday on the Jake and Ben Show, 97.5.
Thanks, Christian.
The KSL Sports Zone.